Let me start the event today by welcoming each and every one of you to the Vice-Chancellor's Roundtable discussion on the future of higher education in this new era. Um, I would like to take this opportunity to thank first all my esteemed panelists. Thank you, sir. It's a privilege for me to actually be a part of this webinar, to have such distinguished dignitaries. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank, the 1,700 students, parents, corporates, faculty members, industry associations who have registered today for this event on a Saturday morning. So thank you very much for being a part of this event. Let me quickly start by introducing ourselves for a minute, and then I'm going to introduce our moderator today, Professor Dhar, and hand the event over to him. Just quickly, 2 minutes about Globsyn. So we as an organization are a 20-year-old organization, 25-year-old organization, essentially into education and technology and infrastructure. On the education side, we have had a business school for almost 2 decades now. A decade with the AICTE, and before that we were a private organization, privately held business school. In the education segment, we have various PG programs, PG initiatives. We have certification programs. We have executive education where we have partnered with Harvard Business School for all their online, learning programs, which we run through our exec programs. Now, also, and this is something, I'm happy to share with you, sir, Sahasrabudhe, sir, we have also integrated those Harvard Business School programs into our current PG program. Since we are talking about blended learning, that will really enhance the quality of the PG program that Globsyn offers. So now, as the students come in the subsequent months, they all will go through a Harvard Business School program, synchronous as well as asynchronous, as they are learning from home. So that's another initiative we've kicked off. On the certification side, we have a platform called Globsyn Business School Online, where we have about 35,000 students going through various management courses. We used to, during this pandemic period of time, we had partnered with NEET, which is part of the AICTE, to actually slash those courses down to ₹1, so that we wanted to ensure that the students remain engaged during these tough times. And so we have a platform for certification programs as well. So as a combination, we have full-time program, we have exec program, and we have the certification program all put together as part of our education journey. On the technology side, and this is an important point also to share, we have about 2,000 people working on artificial intelligence in the country on the AI side. And we have been growing exponentially on the AI side, and probably we'll be recruiting another 1,000 youngsters, graduates and engineers in the coming year just on AI. So that I thought was also this was also a right platform to share that, in case we can look at collaborations and partnership more inclusively, because I think in these tough times, collaboration and right partnership is what will help us move forward. So that's a little bit about us as an organization. Now, let me take the opportunity, and it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Dhar for today's event. Dr. Upinder Dhar is the Vice-Chancellor of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya in Indore. He has also been a guest faculty of many IIMs, Calcutta, Indore, Trichy, Roorkee, to name a few. A fellow of ISTD and a strong proponent of peace method. Dr. Dhar was conferred the Ravi J. Mathai National Fellow Award by the Association of Indian Management Schools in 2018. He was the president. He's been a president of many organizations. For example, Anthropological and Behavioral Science section of the Indian Science Congress Association from 2007 to 8, Indian Society of Training and Development from 2008 to 9, and Association of Indian Management Schools from 2014 to 15. Dr. Dhar was also awarded the Commonwealth Fellowship twice to present his papers in South Asian Management Forums held in Royal Institute of Management in Bhutan and Lahore University of Management Science in Lahore. Dr. Dhar, it's a privilege to have you today, and with this, I would request you to please kindly moderate today's session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rahulji. At the outset, I would like to welcome all the eminent speakers to this webinar. And I would also congratulate Globsyn for organizing this webinar on a very important topic. As we know that COVID-19 has disrupted all the businesses across the world, and education is not an exception. There are disruptions, but the positive side is that during lockdown also, our teachers have very successfully kept most of the students engaged. They were able to shift from classroom to Zoom very quickly. But at the same time, there have been a lot of challenges. There are areas where students live and they are not connected through internet. The challenges have also been there. Now, another development is that 2 days back, on 29th of July, new education policy has been announced, and which is, this education policy has come after 34 years. It will be replacing the policy that was declared, that was introduced in 1986. And if we go through the content, it has many positive elements in it, and is certainly going to transform the education system in our country. Now, not spending much time, and we would like to listen to our listeners more during this webinar. Though our speakers, our eminent speakers, do not need any introduction, everybody knows them. But as a part of convention, I would like to quickly read their brief profile so that everybody, those who are joining such webinars first time, they would know, have an idea about the speaker. Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe ji is Professor of Mechanical Engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, and is currently Chairman of All India Council for Technical Education. He has master's and doctoral degrees from Indian Institute of Science. He is also presently working as chairman and expert member on various national level committees. Some of these include Chairman Basic Scientific Research, Empowered Committee of University Grants Commission, Swayam Board, and Chairman Board of Governors of NIT Itanagar. Professor Sahasrabudhe has held several important academic, research and administrative positions at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, Tata Consulting Engineers, Northeastern Regional Institute of Science and Technology, Itanagar, and IIT Guwahati. He has also served as director of the College of Engineering, Pune. Dr. Sahasrabudhe has been bestowed with several awards, which include Maha Entrepreneur Award 2011 for his leadership and innovative abilities in the area of technology development and entrepreneurship initiatives. Our next speaker is Professor Damodar Acharya ji. Professor Damodar Acharya is an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur. He has held many academic positions in his long career. He was the chairman of AICTE and has also served his alma mater IIT Kharagpur as its director. Professor Acharya earned his degree in mechanical engineering from NIT Rourkela, master's and PhD from IIT Kharagpur. Professor Acharya has successfully handled his responsibilities as an able administrator, as chairman of Vinod Gupta School of Management, and as Vice-Chancellor of Biju Patnaik University of Technology. Professor Acharya's lifetime contribution to industrial engineering has been recognized with the prestigious Lillian Gilbreth Prize, Vishwesvaraya Samman, and Industrial Engineering and Operations Management Society, USA Award. Our next eminent speaker is Professor Mrs. Pankaj Mittal. Professor Mittal is currently Secretary General of the Association of Indian Universities. He is the second woman Secretary General of the Association in its 95 years of existence. She has been serving the higher education as for last 3 decades, more than 3 decades, at senior positions. She has also served for a long time in the University Grants Commission. Professor Mittal is a Fulbright scholar and has MSc and PhD in agricultural statistics from IARI, New Delhi. Dr. Mittal is also the recipient of many awards and honors like Fulbright Nehru Scholarship Grant for Educational Administrators, President of India Award in 2017 for Digital Initiatives in Higher Education. Next speaker for the seminar is Professor Suranjan Das. Professor Suranjan Das is currently the Vice-Chancellor of Jadavpur University, and he has also served Calcutta University as Vice-Chancellor earlier. Professor Das has a distinguished academic record, securing his graduation and master's from University of Calcutta and DPhil from Oxford University. Professor Das was a distinguished fellow, Australia India Institute, University of Melbourne, honorary professor at Hull University, a visiting professor of the British Academy in 2000, and a visiting scholar, amongst others, at Maison des Sciences de Home, Paris, Mershon Center of Ohio State University, the University of New Mexico, and University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and the Oxford Brookes University. And finally, a brief about our Mr. Rahul Dasgupta. Rahul Dasgupta is an alumnus of Durham Business School, UK, and Wharton. Rahul Dasgupta is Director Globsyn Business School. He also spearheads technology training vertical of Globsyn, which has trained over 180,000 engineering students through the years in various technology tracks, and has recently included subjects like machine learning, data analytics, Internet of Things, and blockchain. Now, before inviting Professor Sahasrabudhe for the keynote address, I would like to give a few points for the participants. One is that to make this Globsyn interactive, please post all your questions in the chat section and mark them as questions. In case you are unable to hear, or see any of the panelists, please check with internet connection. If it still does not work, please let us know in the chat section and we will try to resolve the issue. We will be running a few polls during the webinar. Please participate in them so that we can analyze the results and deliberate on them during the webinar. An admin from Globsyn Business School with the name GBS Online Admin will be available in the chat section. Please look out for important announcements from the admin. In case there is a major technical glitch, the room would be refreshed. The session will resume in 30 seconds and you will be automatically reconnected. Please do not leave the webinar and wait for the panelists to be reconnected. If this problem is still not resolved, a link to a new webinar room will be posted in the chat section. Please click on the link to shift to the new webinar room so that we can resume the session. Finally, we are all connecting remotely from our homes during the lockdown to bring you this seminar. So please bear with us for any technical issues that might be faced. These were some of the points for the participants. Now, without wasting any time, I would request and invite Professor Sahasrabudhe for his keynote address.
Good morning and namaskar to all of you. On the panel here, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Director General of AIU, the only lady on the panel, so I should first respect her and talk to her. Then Professor Damodar Acharya, I have 3 connections with him. Both are mechanical engineers. Both were faculty in IIT somewhere or the other. And then he was my predecessor, chairman of AICTE. So there we have a strong connect between each one of us. Professor Suranjan Das, Vice-Chancellor of Jadavpur University. We were together on some of the IIC Council and many other meetings. And he has been a very forward-looking Vice-Chancellor of Jadavpur University. Dr. Upinder Dhar, Vice-Chancellor of Vaishnav Vidyapeeth, Rahul Dasgupta ji, Vice-Chancellors, then faculty members, students, corporate and industry persons who have joined us. At the outset, I thank Globsyn for organizing this event. And I'm seeing that the number of participants has already risen to 866. So I think it's a very large webinar. Normally we have 200, 300, sometimes 400, but 866, 1000 is a pretty big number. So you have done a splendid job. 20 years of your service to management education. And also you have this Harvard Business School Connect. I think that's very, very powerful and very important. And I receive a journal from your organization every month, actually. So it's one of the finest journals in management education, having a lot of case studies and various issues connected with them. And therefore, congratulations for all of that. You also talked about AI, and more than about, say, 2,000 people are there in India, and 1,000 more will be added. I think it's a very small number. You have to miser in that sense. Probably the new era, new age is going to be all full of AI, IoT, machine learning. And therefore, I will come back to that a little while later about the faculty development programs that we conduct actually in these domains. And then how do we empower first the faculty, and from faculty, how do we take it forward to our students who are very important, who will create jobs, who will be employable, and so on and so forth. One of the topics which was given earlier as the title was for higher education institutions post-COVID. That was the idea when this was started, and we were receiving the mailers from all of you. But now that just 3 days back, the new national education policy is also announced. I think we need to really connect both of them during this particular webinar. So I appreciate the entire seminar itself in the first place. We have discussed threadbare on many occasions about COVID era and post-COVID era. And Madam very nicely says that it is like our BC and AD, which we used to use before Corona and after Corona. BC and AC she keeps using often actually. And DC is also there during Corona. So I think BC, DC and ACs are there. During DC, what all we did, in some nutshell, I will refer here and there. But more importantly, we should talk about what will happen post-COVID era. That means maybe by September, October, when the institutions open up, what are the challenges that we are going to continue to face, and how do we address them? I think that is what is significant, because are all stakeholders, whether it is students or faculty in particular, and the parents of students, they are all worried, what will happen, what will happen. So everyone keeps worrying. So the first sentence which I want to use here is, ye bhi ho jayega, ye bhi chala jayega. And this phase will also be over. So this will not continue forever. This is a short phase, maybe 6 months, 1 year, and we will come over, some kind of vaccine will come, and then we will be having the reprieve, and then we will continue our normal life. So don't worry. In a lifespan of human being, Homo sapiens, which is of the order of 100 years, at least 80, 85 years is a very common thing these days. Life expectancy has increased, and probably it will further increase for our young generation. By the time they come to 80s, they will be surviving up to 100 also. And there are many biotechnological innovations which are happening. Maybe there are also indicators which say that if you survive for the next 30 years, probably you will not die at all if you don't want to die. It is like our Ashwathama, Balir Vyaso and all that, something of that sort. So I think having said this, very significantly, post-COVID, immediately, when we start, we need to maintain some kind of protocol. And that protocol has been coming from government from time to time, Ministry of Health, Ministry of HRD, Ministry of even our Home Ministry, because of various issues involved. So I think social distancing, which has come as a norm, may have to continue for some time, and the online education. So online education, those who already were practicing, they already know about it. But those who were not using it, I think they have no choice but to start off online education from two contexts. One context is immediately bringing in, if you have students of the order of 5,000, 6,000 in your institute or university, simultaneously bringing so many of them onto the campus and into the classrooms would be a challenge actually, and the COVID can further spread. People talk about second wave, third wave. I think till the vaccine is evolved, and then we are pretty sure that by taking that vaccine, it will not infect us at all. Till then, I think a lot of things are to be required to be done. And therefore, online is going to be the order of the day for some time. Then there are two different models possible, or three different models possible. One of them is everything will be online for some time, but that has some challenges, which we will keep talking about it quite often. That means institute may not have infrastructure, students may not have access, students may not have devices, and we have been talking about solutions to that. How do we handle those situations? The second is everything is fine, and we want to bring them into the campus. There are institutions who have started off asking them, students and faculty, to come to the campus. Now, in the areas and states and regions where the COVID-19 has not touched so much, I think they can certainly do this. And by bringing them also, still maintain some kind of a discipline by way of having a staggered timetable, either morning 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, one batch, another set of students in another time, or same batch of students, half the students come online, half the students will go into the classroom, and they will rotate, and not the same students will be always online. I think these are issues which are to be addressed. The second is, someday or the other, as quickly as possible, we need to return to the classrooms and the campuses. Online cannot be a permanent, measurement and measure. That's only a temporary measure. The reason being, education can still be imparted online in many ways, including I also experiments as well. So if you look at NPTEL and its extension in terms of technology domain, there are virtual labs, simulation-based labs, even remotely controlled labs. All of them are today technologically feasible, and therefore even large number of laboratory content also can be done online. But of course, some content has to be done face-to-face in the laboratory, with the equipment physically being handled. That's a different matter. But more importantly, a human being is a social animal. All humanities and social sciences people will vouch for it, that no animal in the world, other than human beings, that is Homo sapiens, have any of these kind of traits, like meetings, conducting conferences and webinars, sports events. There may be sports events for animals, but they are conducted by human beings. On their own, they cannot organize such an event. They don't think about it. And then cultural activities, drama, dance, music, interpersonal relationships, understanding human nature, and I think creating empathy. You have sensitization of people, emotions. I think these are more strongly visible in human beings compared to any other species. And therefore, closing someone within the premises of the homes or the locating in one particular domain is not possible. That is why people who do some kind of bad act, they are put behind bars. And that's the biggest possible punishment. You don't have to do anything other than just put behind bars. We all are aware of the British, what they did without doing bad work. Someone like Savarkar, who fought for the independence, but still he was put in the jail in Andaman Nicobar Islands, and in the completely closed circumstances. You can imagine psychologically what would have gone through the person. I think something similar is happening to our students today, our faculty today, and therefore we must come back to the campuses. It is a very important post-COVID era reasoning which we have to put up. And therefore, some of them who are challenged with this, we need to help them. And for helping them, we need a lot of counselors to be appointed in different institutions. They may be online, they can be face-to-face. I think this is another very important and significant thing we may have to reinvent and do it. Now I will come to the other part, that is national education policy, which was announced on the 29th. Incidentally, someone pointed out the other day that it was the the GRD's J&T Tata, Tata family leader's birthday, and therefore the Industry Institute Connect actually has come out very strongly in the National New Education Policy. There are certain questions which will come in the minds of the people, so I would like to address few of them and leave it later for the questions. First of all, this is a change in the right direction. Probably the first time I have found when the entire country normally is divided on many issues, whether it is budget or whether it is economic issues, whether it is lockdowns. I did not see any strong reactions from any educationists for this policy. This is a policy for all, containing everything for everyone, actually. I think probably a large number of people were associated, they were interviewed, and based on that, Dr. Kasturi Rangan committee has brought this out. So naturally, they adequately represent all sections of the society, whether it is students, faculty on the one side, industry on the other, the government on the other, and all of them. And therefore, these changes are absolutely mind-boggling in terms of some of the sweeping reforms, very innovative reforms that have come out. I will start with the primary or the elementary education, which we talk about 10+2 system, which has been there for about last 40 years or so. So there is a shift in that, and now there is a talk of 5+3+3+4. The number of years at which we conclude this is same at the age of around 18. We used to start from at the age of 6. Now we start with the age of 3. And the first 5 years are divided into 3+2. That means first 2 standards similarly, and then 3+3+4. Finally, it is leading to 12th standard, or it is here indirectly 15th standard, you can call it. But age is same, 18. And after that, you come to the higher education sector. And in this also, up to the first 5 standards, it has been said that the education should be in the mother tongue. Very important thing, because we connect entirely to the requirements of the society, requirements of the knowledge generation. If we are in your thinking in your mother tongue, talking in your mother tongue, and a student who has been at home, suddenly when it comes to the school at the age of 3, if you bring in a new language altogether, transition becomes difficult. And therefore, while learning the local medium language, he should gradually be also taken into English. No one has said that we should not study English. I think many people suddenly start thinking that it means we are not giving importance to English. It's an international language. Yes, we agree that no, you have to start with your mother tongue. Gradually, you can include many other languages. Another very important issue about the language is the 3-language formula. And there are some states who are still 2-language formula. There are many states who are 3-language formula. I think this is one of the brightest spots, that why 3? In fact, in my opinion, from the age of 3 to about 10 or 12, you teach as many languages and our children will learn. Maybe 5, maybe even 7 or 8. And this is from my personal experience, where I have watched parents being transferred. They go to different locations. Parents find it difficult to learn a new language, but kids pick up very, very fast. Only the nature of way of teaching learning should be different. It should not be by asking them to write the alphabets and also read the books. It should be in the form of telling stories in that language. And that makes it very, very comfortable for that. So I think I have stopped at the primary education. But what is another significant thing is vocational education, skill education is starting much earlier at the age of 7, 8, 10 itself. That means whether it is gardening, whether it is agriculture, whether it is some carpentry, whether it is fitting, whether it is some computer or electronics, if the skill sets are developed amongst the students right from school, and already we have adult tinkering labs in about 5,000 schools, we may have to increase them in number of schools. If you do that, the seed of innovation is going to be sown. Today, AICTE conducted the Smart India Hackathon, started off. It's going to be there for next 3 days. Prime Minister will address them at 4:30 in the evening. But significantly, the engineering college students and various technical college students, including management, architecture, pharmacy, are solving the problems of the nation. I think through hackathons. So if that culture is developed, skill development is developed right from school, it will have a long way to go. the 50% of the gross enrollment ratio, another very bold step from 28 to 50 is a long jump actually, and therefore that's very important. Multidisciplinary institutions, universities, and reducing the number of colleges and making more number of universities so that they are all independent, autonomous, flexibility of entry and exit anytime. So if you have some difficulty at family level, you can exit at a certain point in time, and not without a degree because you have not completed the program, maybe with a certificate or a diploma. And after a couple of years, if you are now found to be okay in terms of family income or family difficulties, return back to academics and continue and complete your degree, postgraduate degree. I think this is a very biggest reform. So many difficulties which are faced by students who had difficulty earlier, now they are taken care of. Autonomy was being talked about earlier also. Now there is a push on that in terms of becoming more proactive in terms of even regulation, that regulation to be light but tight. These are various terms used in this particular policy which are significant, where more open, transparent system of self-disclosure is important. And if someone has disclosed something which is wrong, a complainant complains, a strict action can be taken against that institution. Rather than police Raj, Inspector Raj, why can't we have a more transparent Raj? Is the philosophy which has been adopted, which is very welcome actually in this particular respect. As far as research is concerned, a very large-scale research funding through National Research Foundation, that is also talked about. Our ancient traditional knowledge systems, India has given, not only in mathematics, people talk India has given zero. Zero, proactively we say, because in mathematics, zero is very significant. When you attach that, numbers will keep on changing. And the number of number system in the decimal system that our ancestors do is phenomenal actually. In terms of astronomy, in terms of physics, in terms of chemistry, in terms of different art forms, I think India has tremendous things to give to the whole world. And therefore, that should also become part of the curriculum. Not that whatever was existing, be proud of it, make it relevant to today's needs. For example, even in COVID-19, our Ayurveda and yoga has helped many people more than any Western medicine today. So how we can make the ancient knowledge very, very fruitful and useful to today's context on one side, and how do we take the research in those domains beyond is another area which is very significant. Of course, access, equity is always there, lifelong vocational skills, lifelong learning, these are important. Now, the last part which I would like to state, and which is many people have difficulties in understanding, and a lot of people raise alarm about that, is single regulatory body. So there is a talk about what is known as HECI, Higher Education Council of India, and that will be one superlative body which will conduct all aspects of education. And suddenly will people say what will happen to UGC, AICTE, NCERT, and so on and so forth. I think that doubt should go away. Many people also talked about our jobs will go. On the other side, maybe in the ministry or in the Prime Minister's office, they must be thinking, if another body is created now, there will be more people to be appointed. I think nothing is required to be done. I think we have to only probably readjust. I think this will be a dialogue discussion which will go on in the ministry later. But I'm just opening up certain remarks actually without having been asked for this, but I'm just giving my some thoughts on this. So there are four verticals being talked about under that HECI. One of them is regulatory. Second one is financing, or the giving of the grants. The third one is of that of the accreditation, and fourth one is setting of standards and the norms. In some measure, some way or the other, all of these activities were being done by all these agencies. For example, NCTE or UGC or AICTE in their own domain. And now it will be done under one single umbrella. So therefore, there may be transfer of some manpower from this agency to that agency and re-nomenclature that agency, and everything is fit actually. One who is more adaptable to the regulatory framework, that regulatory mechanism job can be given to that, and others who are doing regulation in other agencies will join hands actually with that. I think it's a very simple process. Someone giving more funds to the universities and colleges, and other agencies were also giving in smaller measure. They can be shifted from one to the other, and that activity will continue. NBA and NAC already exist, so accreditation will continue. We have several societies which are like, our Society for Engineers are there, societies are there for like Pharmacy Council, Architecture Council, Nursing. They can give their inputs about the curriculum and the norms and standards as is existing, but they are under a different nomenclature, different umbrella. That's all what is going to be there. So unnecessarily, people should not get too much worried about what will happen next. Something will happen. Let the act come. Let many things have to happen. It will not happen, of course, immediately. It will take breathing time of about 6 months to a year. Post that, we will all be there. So I think I will conclude. I will otherwise keep on speaking. So I will stop here. And if there are any questions later, I will be glad to answer them. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Professor. You covered very beautifully major points, what has the implications of COVID-19, and also the salient features of the new education policy. So if we take the crux is that the future of education, higher education, is bright. Now I would request Professor Damodar Acharya to share his views in 5 minutes time. Kindly unmute yourself.
Acharya ji, microphone.
It's okay. Good morning and namaskar to fellow panelists, to Professor Sahasrabudhe, Professor Suranjan Das, Madam Pankaj Mittal, Professor Dhar, and our young friend Rahul, plus all the students, parents, guardians, and from the business community who are really participating in this huge seminar. Of course, the one thing that I would like to focus is, Professor Sahasrabudhe is the right person to talk about actually the new education policy and whatever has happened. I will not really deal much with that. But what actually I would like to focus, that March 2020 is a sort of landmark time in the entire world. It has affected the entire world because of this COVID, and it has changed the total education scenario. Overnight, the teachers were forced to go into online education. The students actually, they also had to do this type of online education. And the beauty of campus life, community living, and also learning from peers and that cohort, it became actually a dream. So we are now all, isolated, and the entire concept of teaching, periodic evaluation, face-to-face contact mode changed to remote teaching with no contact between the teacher and the taught. Evaluation reduced to multiple choice questions. Also, the invigilation, examination invigilation was done by, is being done through technology. Okay, all these things is actually happening. For overall personality development, including the physical development through games, sports, music, dance, debate, etc., were all abandoned. And this is a big loss actually so far as the education is concerned. Students got isolated with no contact amongst themselves, and also amongst the peers. They could not learn anything through peers. So this is, so there are problems of, say, emotional problem, mental problem, psychological problem. Not only the teachers faced, the students faced, also the teachers faced. These are the things. But the good thing is that quickly our all faculty and students actually they came back to actually this they learned and they are now trying to live with these things. Now, of course, this has really affected in some other things like your laboratories, workshops, experimental projects. These things could not be done. Also, campus and hostel life could not be created. However, this has given an opportunity to rethink about our education. I think the future thing actually we have to really deal with this thing that our entire education system has to be really rethought. Because as we know, we are not very sure how long actually this effect will continue and whether it is also desirable actually to come back to the old mode of teaching with chalk and talk. That sort of thing actually, whether it is desirable, I have my own doubt. Possibly they are not. Maybe many learning that we got through this in this period that will help us in redesigning our education and delivery system. So we have to find out this opportunity to get benefit of teaching by best faculty anywhere available in this world, in any university, that has actually widened. Earlier, the only we used to have one faculty and whatever he was teaching and that we used to take actually is this some sort of Veda. That sort of thing is not there. This is definitely going to become a past. And we will have the students will have really exposure to the best of the faculty in any discipline, anywhere. Then there is a possibility of blended learning, and possibly the delivery will now be changed to the blended learning. We can have collaborative learning through global students cohort. That is also happening in any areas. The students actually could form a cohort and they could do some sort of project and all other things on a collaborative mode, and possibly that will lead to much better learning than what is actually happening now. Teacher's role will change to be a mentor or facilitator rather than actually just passing on the information. The evaluation through open books will be the new order, and the problem solving will be the approach, not actually just learning something from the textbook or from the teacher and doing some mechanical work and to in the examination last 10 years question you see and then actually you put it here. That sort of thing will not really happen. And we have to leverage technology for teaching in much better way than what we are doing is. For example, virtual laboratory is happening, but we have to also use virtual and augmented learning to make teaching more effective. That becomes very important. Also, the virtual and augmented learning could be used to create the environment of actually conduct sports, games, drama, music, and all these things there for the overall, the development of personality development of the students, which is missing in the present thing. And you need not always be confined to the campuses. And unfortunately, not many institutions in higher education field have got actually the campus to really have it. With only few are lucky, but not that many are there. I think many of these things actually they will have to do it. Now, however, some things actually cannot be really done. For example, the research which involves laboratories and physical working, or even the those things actually cannot be done in this mode. We have to have the students, and we have to find out ways that how to have them. But possibly this model that actually in a small hostel, in small room, you will take 4 students and 4 students will be there in that small room and they will do it. That sort of model actually is not going to work. We have to have a different approach. fewer students I will have, and all these things. Flexibility, and one thing that I would like to say, that most important contribution of this education policy, what I feel, is the type of flexibility it has really provided. All types of subjects you can have, you can take study from anywhere, you can really get credit from any source, and you can really take it into your these things. Now, for implementation of this flexibility of new education policy, I believe that the new paradigm that will create for the post-COVID education scenario, that will really help. And technology will come in a big way for our rescue. So it is true that we cannot replace a teacher. We cannot replace actually the conventional education. Those things will be anyway there, but the quality of the education, the quality of teaching, the quality of learning could definitely be improved and taken to a much higher level, even the quality of evaluation through the use of technology and whatever that actually we have learned in this post-COVID experience in last few months. This will definitely provide a basis. Okay, I'd like to stop here. Thank you for giving me an opportunity and look for any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. You highlighted the role of campus experience. Everybody is missing that campus experience, and it is very important for the overall development of the students. And when the COVID has come, it will pass on, and students will be returning to the campus. We talked about collaborative learning. We talked about virtual and augmented learning, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Professor Mittal to share her views.
Thank you, Professor Sir. And very good morning to all the fellow panelists and all the attendees who are attending this seminar. I'm not individually addressing everybody because the time given is so small that I don't want to waste even a single second for that. See, when Professor Sahasrabudhe was talking about the new education policy, everybody knows that this is a student-centric policy. Now the student is in the center and the policy is totally student-centric. One aspect of student-centric policy is that, of course, that the lot of choice is given to the students for sort of taking any particular course, and also the multiple exit entry option. But one aspect which is ABC, that is Academic Bank of Credit. So that is something which is very new to the country, and whenever we talk about that, even in the foreign countries, they say it is something a revolutionary or an innovative step. So what is ABC? So ABC, we earlier were calling it National MAC Bank, National Academic Credit Bank, but now the name is changed to ABC, Academic Bank of Credit. So what does this mean? This means that in future, the students may or may not take admission in a particular program, that is a BA, MA, BSc program. They can take admission in different courses. By courses, I mean, for the students who don't understand, like for BA, there are say 16 papers. So each paper is a course. So in addition to the programs, you can take admission in courses also, and you may not take admission in any program. You can only take admission in courses, and that too in different universities. And when you complete a particular course from that university, you will get some credits, and those credits will be accumulated in a bank. Similarly, you do hundreds of courses or say 20 courses from 20 universities or maybe from 10 universities. So a number of course credits will be accumulated in your bank. And when you have sufficient number of credits, when you reach a threshold number of credits, which is good enough to get a degree for you, and if the credits are in sort of a core discipline which is required by a university, you can go to the university, any university from where the maximum number of credits have been earned, and tell that university that I have accumulated these many credits. Now you give me a degree from your university. And once the university agrees and the degree is given to the student, those many credits are debited from the account of the student. So remaining credits remain. But suppose he has 100 credits with him, and for a particular degree of a master's, 80 credits are required. So 80 will be debited and he will be left away with the 20 credits. So this is something very, very revolutionary, because in this, the students will be able to get best course. I mean, best course, whichever university is offering, they can go and get admission there. They can learn. They can do multiple type of courses and from multiple universities. So this is something very big, which the students community, I think, will really love, that they can have degrees from any university. Now, having said that, I will come to the topic of this webinar, that is future of education post-COVID. So when this COVID struck and all of a sudden all the universities, colleges were closed, the issue was that how to teach the students, how to go online. And you will be surprised to know that when we were dealing with SWAYAM, we used to face a lot of problem in getting the courses developed, online courses developed, because the teachers were camera shy. They were saying that we can teach a class, but it's very difficult for us to teach a camera and prepare an online course. But overnight, there was a sort of a transformation, and many teachers started online, teaching online. And the way, like in the beginning, we used to go to the banks, and then banks started coming to our home. Similarly, the students earlier used to go to the universities, but now universities were at their home. Every home was having a teacher. So we jokingly used to tell the students, if you didn't get admission in IIT, don't worry. IIT professor will come to your home and teach you at your convenient time. That is through SWAYAM, through the MOOCs courses. So this is the revolution which has happened. So normally I talk of something, I named it as like ACBC, I named it as Saptapadi. Saptapadi are the 7 steps which are taken during the marriage. So this Saptapadi is 7 steps which are to be taken by the university to marry the new normal, because the new normal is going to exist after COVID. So if you want to really adjust to yourself to the new normal, what 7 steps you should be taking? So first, and then right now, this is the right time to take those 7 steps, because there is 1 month, 2 months left for opening of the new session, new academic session. So in these 2 months, what steps the university should be taking so that they can very easily accommodate to the new normal? The first step is the infrastructure. Every university should be looking at it, that the infrastructure required in terms of devices, networking, bandwidth, or even continuous supply of electricity, it is there or not. And if they have to reopen, they have to decide in these 2 months how they will adjust the physical spaces, whether it is classrooms or hostels or mess or library or common spaces, common rooms. So that adjustment they have to do, that how they have to do, but this is the right time to do it. And along with that, there are many open education resources in the market. So suppose the next session goes completely online, or even if it goes blended, now the time is for blended education. Means flipped classroom model has to be adopted, in which the students can be studying at home and learning in the classroom, in the sense of discussions, group discussions, understanding of the concept is in the classroom, not the regular teaching, which is generally done in the foreign countries also. So in the first step, when we talk on infrastructure, we also talk of identifying the good open education resources. What OER, there are plethora of OERs available in the market. So which OER is good for your university, for your students, for your program, that the teachers have to identify, and then they have to give the link to the students that these are the OERs which are relevant for your particular program. So just read them and then come to the class. So then we'll discuss these particular topics in the class. That is the first step. Second step is, although many teachers are taken over, they have taken over to online teaching, but online teaching could not be construed as just sitting in front of camera and speaking as a lecture. Online teaching is much more than that. It involves so many things. It could be student engagement with many homes, activities, projects, assignments, grouping of the students. So the training of the teachers for online teaching, that is very important. So every university, as a second step, should be training their teachers to teach online. We, in our AIU, we are also running many workshops for the teachers, and right now also there is a free self-paced online course available on our website, which the teachers can do for learning how to teach online. In addition to this, yesterday only AIU also launched a survey to check the preparedness of higher education institutions to teach online. What type of infrastructure they have, what type of capacity building of teachers they have, or everything relating to online education, whether they are prepared or not. We have launched an online survey yesterday. So whosoever, I mean, if you are from the university system, please fill in that survey, because that will give a realistic picture to the government, and they'll be able to make an informed policy decision. So please take care that survey is filled by you, so that we can project what the reality of India is. So that was the second step, capacity building of teachers. Third is that when you want to teach online, there are many platforms available. Now those platforms, like there is TCS Ion is there, Blackboard is there, this MS Teams is there, many platforms are there. So you have to evaluate in these 2 months that which is the best platform for your university. I mean, there could be one or two best platforms because it depends upon the requirement of every university, depends upon the cost of every platform. So identify one or two platforms and tell your faculty and your students that these are the platforms we are going to use so that they get used to that particular platform. So this was the third step. Fourth step would be assessment and evaluation. We have seen that how much of halla is going about regarding holding the final year examination, and why that is happening, because we never thought of continuous assessment throughout the semester. So can we, as a university, in the coming semester, think of a continuous assessment throughout the semester so that we don't have to think of a 3-hour examination at the end of the semester. This could be in the form of assignments, quizzes, face-to-face interviews, group discussions. So many possible ways are there to assess, and that continuous assessment is way better than the 3-hour examination which we give at the end of the semester. The fourth step is to find out how you can do continuous assessment and evaluation of students. And also, if you want to hold some examination in the end of the semester, can you do it online? Are proctored online examinations available? They are available, but you have to see which one to choose, which platform to use, and how to conduct, and how to train your university teachers as well as the students to undertake that type of an assessment. Fifth point will be internships and placements. Again, after this COVID, internship and placements both are facing a lot of issues, and the students are not able to get internships or placement. Rather, some placement offers are being withdrawn. So the university has to see that which platform can be used. There are many platforms for internships as well as placement which are online. The online internship and placement platforms have to be identified, and then the students can be offered those internships and placement. AICTE does have an internship bank, but that is only for engineering and technology. We do need an internship bank for other subjects as well. So that was the fifth step. Sixth step is collaboration. All of a sudden, people are thinking that because of COVID, the collaborations will go away. I fail to understand that why we need to travel every time for a collaboration. Rather, I think it is an opportune moment to have collaboration, because today, if you want to have a lecture from a foreign professor in your university or a college, it is cost effective, it is time effective, it is resource effective. So it is very easy to call foreign professors and give lectures. There is a the government of India ran a scheme called GYAN, in which foreign professors were calling. We used to give a lot of money on for that travel cost and as well as the honorarium. But now, Sahasrabudhe sir, also I would like to mention, sir, can we start GYAN online? Because GYAN online will be, we can engage a teacher, foreign professor for a week, 10 days or maybe longer, without spending anything on the travel cost, and honorarium will also be less. So that type of GYAN online schemes can be there. So collaborations, whether national or international, they should be more during the post-COVID time rather than decreasing. And last point, seventh point would be the counseling of the students. As somebody was saying that the students are facing a lot of mental issues because of this COVID. So can we have some counseling sessions for the students? Can we arrange a counselor which can give them the academic, psychological, emotional, all types of counseling to the students? And can we also arrange some programs like so that the missing part goes away? Missing is when they are missing their friends, they are missing their ambience of the university, and they are missing the university culture. How can we take care of that? Like AIU did a program called Kuch Artistic Corona. In that, we asked for videos from the students about their cultural performances. So can every university engage the students sort of aesthetically also, culturally also, and maybe non-contact sports also? So all these 7 points, if I feel that if these 7 points are taken care of, if these 7 steps are taken by the university during this 2-month period, they can very well marry the new normal in a much better manner. So with that, I thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor Mittal. You have covered many points. You have talked about the academic bank of credit. At present, if a student leaves halfway, he or she does not get any credit. But now this is going to change. So in itself, this is very revolutionary. You have talked about the readiness for the post-COVID period. The institutions need to ready themselves for the post-COVID period. You have also talked about the faculty training. Today, teachers are not trained on online teaching. So they may be thinking that, well, simply sitting before the camera and teaching the way they were teaching in the classroom, physical setting is same. It is not. So proper training, continuous training is required. Thank you very much for your observations. Now I would request Professor Suranjan Das to share his view. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Dhar, respected Professor Sahasrabudhe, my distinguished panelists, and of course, my equally esteemed participants. Now, one good thing if you come last is that most of the points have already been taken care of. So you need not speak much. And since I have only 5 minutes, I'll just raise certain points for consideration. Let me take the points that Professor Mittal made and Professor Sahasrabudhe made about the need to provide counseling to the students. Now, one of the best aspect of a student life is to grow together. You compete together, you learn together, you play together, you go to movies together, and you develop a cooperative culture. Since March, that culture is gone. And you'll be surprised to know the number of students in my universities who are facing the psychological stress. There have been cases of suicidal attempts. There have been cases of domestic violence on my female students. And when these students come back to the campus, if they can come back, they will be facing a psychological stress. So I do agree that one of the major challenges of university governance in the post-normal situation or post-COVID situation is to provide psychological solace, psychological counseling to my students. But how do we do it? We need the resources. Frankly speaking, most of the state universities do not have the resources even to appoint a counselor. So we need to provide, the government of India or any other agency has to provide us with resources so that we can provide the students with psychological counseling. That's the number one. Number two, Professor Sahasrabudhe rightly mentioned about the positive sides of the new education policy. Of course, there are positive sides. But I think that we need to take care that the cart is not put before the horse. We need to develop the proper infrastructure before the new education policy is actually launched. Because we need to ensure, as Professor Sahasrabudhe pointed out, the equity and access. If the proper infrastructure is not there and the new education policy is introduced, then what will happen? Only a microscopic minority of the students will face the benefits of the new education policy, while a majority of the students would be left out. I give you one or two examples. It's a digital divide. In state universities like us, where most of the students live outside the metropolis, they're still facing problems of the digital divide. So we need to ensure the digital connectivity before going in for online training, online teaching. The other point, for example, how do we maintain social distancing when the university reopens? In our university and other state universities, in a hostel, 2 or 3 students live in one room. How can you maintain the social distancing? In a classroom like ours, 150 students are there. In a small classroom, how can you maintain the social distancing? Of course, we need to have staggering students coming in. But how do we maintain that? If I open the hostel, all students will flock and it will be very difficult to make the students go out. So these are certain logistical issues which need to be addressed, and we do look forward to the guidance from the AIU, to the guidance from the ministry, so that these problems can be tackled and the infrastructure can be developed. The other point that I wanted to make is about the online education. I thank Professor Sahasrabudhe for assuring us that online education cannot be a permanent feature. It's a temporary feature. And of course, we need to go in for Indian education. There are a lot of advantages of online teaching, online education. But, sir, one point I'd like to emphasize is that, unlike in the West, online education till now in India is becoming a one-way flow from the teacher to the taught. But we have to make online teaching interactive. When a teacher speaks in a conventional room, he looks at the eye of the student. And in my teaching career, I have seen that more provocative a student body is, the best you can bring out in a teacher. Now, how can we ensure that a teacher speaking in an online education system speaks to an inanimate microphone or a camera. He or she doesn't speak to an animated student audience. But online education has to be made interactive. A new technology has to be developed so that on the multiplier effect of the online technology can be made beneficial both for the teacher as well as for the student. Industry-university partnership program is certainly important. It is one of the seminal features of new education policy, but we are surprised to find that not much is forthcoming for the captains of industry in our country, so far as research and development is concerned. According to a recent survey that I saw, only not even 1% of the R&D funding comes from the industry. While if we go to America or to other parts of the developed world, much of the R&D funding comes from the industry. So the industry has to be made much more proactive so that there can be a proper university-industry partnership program. I think the two other points I'll make, Professor Sahasrabudhe rightly mentioned about the positive effects of the hackathons. This is very, very important. Now, history shows that every pandemic or every epidemic has a silver lining, because every pandemic or epidemic also generates creativity amongst the students and among the faculty. If we did not have smallpox, we would not have a smallpox vaccine. If we didn't have a malaria, we wouldn't have a malaria vaccine. If we don't have a plague, we wouldn't have a plague vaccine. So here we have found, at least in many universities in West Bengal, that students of their own accord are coming together to develop new devices, whether it is a low-cost ventilator, whether it is low-cost masks, whether it is trying to develop a device to help the police to find out whether a person is wearing a mask or not, also develop a cooperative spirit to provide help in terms of food and money to the people in the deprived. So there is this creative energy which has been generated amongst the youth, among the teachers, and the cooperative spirit that has developed among the teachers and the students in the pandemic period. Now, the major challenge of the university governance would be how to sustain this creativity. Hackathons is one important aspect, but how do we sustain the creativity of the social sciences students? How do we sustain the creativity of humanities students? How do we sustain the creativity of interdisciplinary learning? I think that would be a major challenge of the university governance, and unless we can sustain that challenge, much of the creativity that has come to the fore will be destroyed. So that, I think, will be a major challenge of university governance in a post-pandemic situation. Final point, Professor Sahasrabudhe rightly outlined the positive advantages of the new education policy. But again, I think, sir, certain points need to be made very specific. Now, we are speaking of autonomy of the institutes, but we are also speaking of the regulatory authority. Now, what would be the dividing line between the regulatory authority and the autonomy that the institutions are supposed to gain? What would be the ambit of the new Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog that is being formed? So these are the things that need to be clarified. I'm sure they will be clarified when the Act is transformed. And we do look forward to a very interactive session between the university administrators, the ministry, the ICT, so that when the new education policy is implemented, A, equity in access is not denied, and B, the student-centric approach, as Professor Mittal is pointed out, is sustained and strengthened in the right possible way. I think I've already crossed my limit. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Professor Das. You have talked about the increasing importance of psychological counseling. You have also touched upon equity and access, digital device, and the blended learning that will be happening post-COVID-19. Thank you very much. Now I would request Rahul Dasgupta to share his view.
I had a series of points and I was just taking one by one, and I think all the points I take what I wanted to mention. So I'll summarize essentially, what I've learned from all of you today. I think one of the most important thing which Dr. Mittal mentioned about, which I really was that India finally, because of this COVID situation and post-COVID situation, is moving to a learner-centric model. The number one, when you look at the postgraduate education, these learners are adults, and we all know that adults can't be forced to learn something. So they have to have the right intent to learn. So as part of becoming a learner-centric model, my message to some of the students who are here today, would be for them to take accountability of learning as well, which means if they are given flexibility in a blended learning or an online learning mechanism, they have a lot of time sitting at home where they can self-learn as well. So that's my first point. When you look at something like blended learning is not just, as ma'am mentioned also, is not just about online and offline. It's about the right pedagogical mix so that the learning of the student increases. So, if you look at, the famous book of Sri Datta, who spoke about knowing, doing, and being, if we assume that those are the three pillars of learning that a management student has to go through, if you look at the knowing part of things, you can look at face-to-face there, you can look at real-time video synchronous mode of learning there, and you can look at self-learning there. So when you're looking at a 2-year journey, you're just talking about a small section of that being delivered in a blended or an online mode. Like Sahasrabudhe sir mentioned, the remaining part, which is the application and the behavioral element, of course, should be done in campus, in collaboration with institutions and organizations, whether it be live projects or SIP or these corporate connect programs that students participate in. We, for example, in the organization, we do a lot of social impact projects. So those are all things which can kick off once the institutions open up and are in a physical campus. But before that, I think the blending is very much possible. So I think a right balance, a right pedagogical balance between the knowing and the doing and the being is going to be very instrumental in future learning of students, and the students will therefore also have to come halfway in terms of learning and development. The third point I just wanted to mention, which I heard, was the curriculum part of it. So I think if you look at the pedagogy, I just mentioned about the balance between the three. On the curriculum side, I think there are three components that must be looked at by the institutions and students. One is on the relevance of management courses coming in. Of course, every time there is a change in the market or there is something like the pandemic, which we also, by the way, had something very similar during the Y2K era, or when we had the financial crash in 2008. The content of the institution needs to undergo a change. So I think relevance of management topics, for example, in today's context, there could be subjects like change management, digital sales, analytics is something that many institutions have already included. Industry 4.0. So one is to look at institutionally how you can bring in relevant management context into the flow. The second, of course, is, which partly Professor Sahasrabudhe mentioned about, is the importance of language coming into the curriculum structure as well, both domestic as well as global languages. And I think that's one change we are working towards, that we want to blend in a lot of foreign as well as domestic language into the pedagogy. And the third thing that needs to bring in to the curriculum structure is the multidisciplinary aspect of it. So management science is now evolved. It's almost a blend of humanities, social sciences, and management education together. So I think, again, we need to look at a balance between the kind of curriculum structure we had in the past and the kind of thing that we need to include. My last point that I want to touch upon, is also on the way examinations should be conducted in the future. I think we need to move from testing just the knowledge of a student to testing the thinking of the student, in the thinking capability in terms of problem solving. So I think adopting more open book exams into the structure is very, very essential. So if we look at a combination of blending, which is, bringing in online, offline delivery, and then face-to-face, and collaboration that we mentioned and we spoke about earlier, I think we are coming up with a model which is underpinning the entire learner-centric philosophy, which is also mentioned in the new national educational policy. So I think it's a right move, right direction. Circumstantially, we have been pushed to adopt it very aggressively. So I personally feel it's a great time for management education in the country today. So with that, I just move it back to Dr. Dhar so that we can move to questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Rahul. You have mainly focused on curriculum restructuring and also examination reforms, which are required post-COVID-19. Now, I have also a few questions for all of you. One question is that all of us know that there are certain regions where access is the problem. We have not been able to reach the students because internet connectivity is not there. So what is the solution? Now, post-COVID-19, what is the solution? How to reach the students if we have to continue with online as well as in-person education, that is blended learning post-COVID-19? How to have access? Professor Sahasrabudhe can respond.
No, I think there were some questions also on the chat bot, as well as Dr. Suranjan Das also raised some of these issues directly or indirectly. So I would like to reiterate that government is fully seized of the matter, and many places, forget about rural areas, even in some of the towns and cities, suddenly internet connectivity drops down because of the large number of users. Some because of lockdown, everyone is at home. Everyone is downloading several things actually. So one of them is how do we increase the bandwidth and how do we reach out to all the nooks and corners of the country. There is a special cabinet committee under Dharmendra Pradhan, which has been constituted with many other people, so 4 other ministers, and they are looking at all of these things so that infrastructure-wise, like we had roads to all villages, electricity to all villages, which has been achieved, internet to all the villages is the next slogan which will come and which will happen. Next, it must go to individuals also, but it may take some time. It will not be so easily possible, but reaching every village is certainly possible within a very short time. We have Manrega. You can even employ people, they will get jobs also, and at the same time we can lay the fiber optic cable to nooks and corners of the country. Second part is, how do we give devices? There are hundreds of possibilities, but out of that 3-4 things which I would like to mention is, number one, government can give free devices to the very lowest possible income group, either a laptop or a PC or at least a smartphone, actually something of that sort. And second one is, for some others in the middle range, they can be made available a loan without interest so that they can buy it and then they can educate themselves and then do that whatever repayment later. The third part is, there are people from middle class onwards. When the Prime Minister announced gas subsidy, on their own, several thousands, lakhs of people gave up the subsidy. The same way, all middle class and above people, I will challenge you that they have 5 devices, smartphones lying idle in their homes. Because the new technologies came, they changed from this company to that company and they are lying idle. Why can't we donate them as a social responsibility to the libraries of the institutions, and in turn they will give to the poor children who do not have that access? I think all this is to be done together. Further, industry, I have had meeting with NASSCOM because of their quarterly whatever executive committee meeting, and when I pitched this, they said every year all IT companies, they change about 500,000 laptops or computers, and they are not too old. They may be 4-year, 5-year-old. Because of new technology, they buy the new ones, and these old ones they just either give it in the market or sell it at a very low cost. Why can't they offer them as services to the individual? Probably every village should have at least one very good computer, one very good TV set or a large screen and an antenna of Swayam Prabha, whereby education is given to all nooks and corners. In fact, if there is any possibility of removing the divide between the haves and have-nots, it is the digital transformation which will do it, and not anyway otherwise. Otherwise, in fact, it will take maybe 20 years. This will be possible to be done in 1 year itself. And therefore, the worry that everyone is talking about is absolutely unfounded, and we should be very clear that government is also seized of the matter, and all individuals, everyone who is sensitive to this issue, they should also pitch in and donate their mobile phones, and the IT industry should donate their computers. And every village, at least if it has one place where about 20-30 students can come together, watch the Swayam Prabha channel, and also have internet connectivity. Therefore, as you rightly said, two-way communication between the teacher and the taught is very, very important. If you have a connect and they ask the question about what they have not understood, and if they don't ask that question on that day itself, they will lose interest. So the whole idea is, on the same day, if you get the answer, you get further inspired and motivated to learn more. Actually, I think all of this is possible. Lastly, even before the internet reaches, there can always be a local area network developed, which is much easier to do it. and through either VSAT, every institution, every location, wherever, however remote it is in India, today because of satellite communication of ISRO, we have achieved that self-reliance, we can do it. And unless all our young graduates, they all decide to contribute towards the nation building. And Atmanirbhar Bharat will not become by only the slogan of Prime Minister. It is all of us. We have to put in our effort. Every one of us should work hard and transform this country into a truly Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Sir, can I make a quick point on this, sir?
Please go ahead.
Again, answer to that also.
Sir, thank you, Professor Sahasrabudhe, for the suggestions. Can I make one quick suggestion? Professor Mittal will bear me out. When I was a member of the UGC, we had a scheme of the cluster of colleges. Now, in a particular district or village, one college might have a much better facilities than other colleges. So why can't we, as Professor Sahasrabudhe mentioned about the local network, we had this EduSat program which is now lying completely idle. Now, why can't we devise a system where in a district, one or two colleges are identified as lead college, provide them with the connectivity, improve the infrastructure they already have, so that the students for the neighboring colleges at a fixed time can come together and can share that particular platform, so that the connectivity problem is also addressed and there is a multiplier effect in terms of the online teaching. So that was one suggestion I wanted to make, and if the ministry can seriously think about it.
Suranjan, absolutely on the dot. When I said that local networking, if you remember RUSA, under RUSA, there was already a facility of conglomeration of 5 to 6 colleges in a region to convert into a university itself. So in fact, there is a strong connect between what you said is using EduSat on one side and RUSA on the other side is possible. And lastly, I will tell you, I didn't tell in my talk when I said, when we appeal to people, they come forward. And I have found that during this pandemic, what you said, this facilitation, we created a helpline in the first 3 days of the first lockdown, and we appeal to people that who are willing to help, they should come forward and enlist there, and those who need help, they should enlist there. And a matchmaking portal was created, and within 3 hours, 6,000 institutions, NGOs, organizations onboarded. And the number of students who were in great distress were only 3,000. So I think we have a community which is always having this sensitivity towards the social needs. And from time immemorial, we have this culture actually. And therefore, I think we should not have that worry that there are various solutions which are available. It's only that we have to now implement them.
Okay, thank you, sir. There is one more question. I think it is addressed to all. All of you can share your views. First, Professor Sahasrabudhe, how to ensure quality of education post-COVID-19 when this transformation is happening?
Sir, actually, I think the quality of education, whether pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, or any time is important. The quality cannot be compromised. Quality and excellence are very, very significant and important. But unfortunately, our whole emphasis for a long time has been on access and equity, which is also important. And very importantly, here it is mentioned, Suranjanda again, that GER to increase from present level to 50%. That itself shows the commitment that the divide should be removed actually. And someday it should be 100%. I think that is a creature which is already in existence. Now we have to formulate policies. How do we implement individual acts? Those are the 1 or 2 years it will take to go down into that. That apart, the very essence of the not only new education policy but any time is the quality. And how does quality come? Quality comes first from excellent faculty, and therefore no compromise on selection of faculty, whether it is schools at the lowest level or to the colleges and universities and IITs. I think why are IITs very good? Because they don't compromise on faculty. There may be some vacancies which will remain 1 or 2 years, they don't bother. But they will select the best faculty that is available in the whole globe and then bring them to home. They go as an outreach and then get those faculty from abroad also. So I think that philosophy has to be strongly done by all universities, whether state or central. Also individual colleges on one side. So quality selection. Next is training. So some of them are passionate, they are good, but they don't know what to do. So one example which AICTE did is an excellent job is about 8-module faculty certification program mandatorily. Like our B.Ed and D.Ed to teach in the schools, to teach in an engineering college or in a pharmacy, architecture or management school, every individual has to go through these 8 modules. And they have all the contents to empower a faculty member, to make him aware of it. Next, as and when new technologies emerge, they have learned 10 years back, 20 years back. And we say to them also that when we ask students to be lifelong learners, first teachers should become lifelong learners. And therefore, faculty development programs through our AICTE's training and learning academies, ATAL academies. We have trained in the last 3 months of pandemic through online medium, 5-day workshops, 18,000 faculty members. And in the face-to-face mode last year with 185 programs, we could train only 9,600. With less than half the programs, we have trained more than double the faculty members. That means it is 5 times more efficient system of engaging. But what is important, on the other side, you rightly pointed out the connect between the student and the teacher. That happens even in the teacher training program. So if there is a face-to-face mode also teacher training program, and if the faculty, 50 or 60 of them who come there, if they are disinterested and just because of promotion avenue, they will come there for that, I think nothing will happen. And therefore, testing them, evaluating them also there in those 5 days, 6 days is very, very significant and important on one side. And then if they are passionate, even in an online mode, instead of 50, even if 500 people have joined together, they will try to learn on their own also. So I think that is the crux of the matter. So select best faculty, give them opportunity, give them training, quality will automatically improve. And lastly, teacher and student relationship. In our Guru Shishya Parampara, which we talk about from ancient times, that students should be allowed to ask questions. We should not discourage him from doing that. And that is where the lot of innovation starts happening. Many things a teacher does not know because of the question that is asked by the student, our brain will start functioning. I say, I should find out that. And then more innovation, more research can happen. And therefore, the teacher-student connect, listening to student, given importance to student. Madam rightly pointed out that this policy is student-centric. I think from out of that, I think we will create a new norm which will be highly qualitative and we will be leading towards excellence. Of course, it will not happen overnight. We'll have to put in our all efforts, individuals, students, faculty, teachers, parents, industry, every one of us.
Thank you very much, sir. Professor Mittal wants to make a point. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. One issue which I wanted to address in Dr. Sahasrabudhe said was of access. So when we talk of access, right now our access is 26.3, but then recently we did a study saying that the way we measure the access is that out of say 100 people in the age group of 18 to 23, how many have access to higher education, which is 26. But in developing countries like India, the eligible population, that means the number of people who have passed 12th class and are eligible to get admission in higher education is low. And if you calculate that, I mean, people in the age group of 18 to 23 who have passed 12th class, out of that, how many have gone to higher education? The figure for India is 65. Which is much equal to any other developed country. And the completion rate, that is the number of people who have passed 12th class in the age group, in the relevant age group, is around 42 for India, while it is 90 or something for countries like USA. So if we have 42 people who have passed 12th class, how can we achieve 50% GER right now? But of course, with the government policy on right to education, where till 18 years, the number of students, I mean, the education has been made compulsory till 12th class. So slowly, this base will increase and automatically the GER will increase. So we should stop worrying about increasing GER. GER will automatically increase as soon as this number of school people increase. We should only worry about the accommodating expansion, not creating expansion. That is one issue. And second thing is, when we talk of this online education or technical education or open education resources, that will immensely contribute to the quality of education, because today a student studying in say small university or a small college cannot even dream of learning from an IIT professor. But today that dream has come true because of online education, because of SWAYAM program, because of EPG Pathshala, because of NPTEL. So the learning resources are too many, and that too from the best teachers of the world, not only in India. They are involved, whosoever is the best teacher, they can learn from them. The only thing required is the passion within the student. If the student really wants to learn, the best teacher is available, best type of education is available. What they have to do is to exert to learn from them. So the quality is now, like we were saying that the education is student-centric, quality has also become student-centric because it depends upon the student, what type of quality they want. And I mean, the resources are in plenty and in plenty available. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Can I just make a small point?
Yeah.
Make one more quick point on the quality of education. I think one more way to enhance quality of education, which has been discussed before, is collaboration. I think what we are seeing is, sir, that when we looked at this integration of Harvard Business School programs with our current PGDM, our faculties along with our students, when they are going through this kind of a learning together, the faculties are also learning how quality content online should be delivered, and why students are also learning at the same time. So I think if you look at, this is the right time to look for global collaboration with programs, particularly on the blended online part, so that both the teacher and the student can learn how online learning or how online content should be delivered. So I just wanted to mention that point as well, as a way of increasing quality of education, particularly in the blended learning mode.
Thank you. Professor Acharya has some point, please.
Yes. I've got a very small point. In my view, the whole concept of actually quality in education possibly requires certain rethinking. What actually we are now talking of, that a student is good student actually if he has secured more marks. And if there are many students from an institution, they are getting more marks in the examination, they are actually best, they've got the best quality of education, and this is the way that we are used to think. But I believe this is not exactly the aim of actually the education. The education actually will enable a student or a learner to think, analyze, and come out with solutions to certain problems. It may be a technical problem, scientific problem, or it could be anything, social problem. But I think that part is not really tested in this system. And if we can really introduce our evaluation in which actually this part will be tested, that will be very good. And in fact, that will be a landmark. And this actually doesn't require proctored, examination or anything of that sort. I'm not really talking of actually solving numerical problems. I'm talking of actually solving the physical problems, how this could be done. And possibly the teachers also have to be trained to emphasize on this aspect, not on actually whatever is available on the, textbook. They are definitely textbook and other knowledges, actually they are the basis for doing it. But the actual achievement could be worked in a different way. And this doesn't require any type of these things. Whether there is a connectivity or no connectivity, doesn't matter. This can only be done, and it need not be in the examination mode that we are really talking of. This is what just I wanted to add.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, is there time for a quick point, sir? Can I make a quick point?
You want to make any additional point?
Yes, just a point about the collaboration.
Quickly.
Sir, of course, we need collaboration. But unfortunately, in India, when we think of collaboration, we always think of global collaboration. Why can't we think of collaboration among the top universities and institutions in our country? In the West, there is a notion called the Meta University, where Yale and Harvard are coming together to offer joint courses on certificate courses, diploma courses, etc. So I strongly plead with Professor Sahasrabudhe to devise a system where the first top 10 universities ranked by the NIRF, why can't they come together to develop courses which can be made accessible to the ordinary students in the Moffatshil in the districts? So that will definitely have a multiplier effect. I think time has come first to put our house in order rather than only to look to the West and ask for global collaboration. Collaboration does not mean only collaboration with the outside world, but collaboration within this world, within India itself, because you have enough knowledge system which can be developed adequately.
Thank you. Sir, one last question. It is addressed to Professor Sahasrabudhe. Yeah.
I will answer Professor Suranjan Das, because what you said is not happening as much as it should happen. I agree with you, but there have been collaborations between some IIT and some other local institutions which have created some of the SWAYAM courses which are better than a single IIT courses. This is one part. Secondly, IIT Bombay, NIT Nagpur and College of Engineering Pune, where I was director for some time, they have come out and Dr. Kakodkar initiated that proposal for developing new biomedical devices. And can you imagine, without asking fund, automatically on their own, the Science and Technology Department of the Government of Maharashtra gave 30 crore rupees to IIT Bombay and said start off without a proper project proposal, reverse way, that you have to do it. And with 3 of these institutions collaborating together, several biomedical devices which are low cost, which are a substitution for the Western, whatever devices have come forward, and they have already created startups. I think there are examples, but these examples should increase in numbers.
Particularly in social science and humanities. So we need also to go beyond science and technology to address social science, humanities, liberal arts, etc. So that is not happening.
आपको किसने stop किया है?
Stop नहीं. No, we need. What happens? So what happens in India is something is given from above, it automatically works.
No, you should also evolve yourself. Right? It is not that everything should be given. Then you will say it is being forced upon us. So I think
no, not the force.
So I think next month.
For example, if we can adopt a policy like the Meta University. Anyway, sir, we can talk about it later on.
Autonomy. Right now, universities are giving away their autonomy. Whatever they have, that.
No, we are not. We are. That's why I asked Professor Sahasrabudhe, what will be the dividing line between regulation and autonomy? We are all for autonomy. We have been living in a system where I can't offer a course. I have to take the permission of the UGC. That should stop. Every university should be given the autonomy to devise its own courses.
Sir, actually, the graded autonomy has already given that.
We have got it, sir. But
so naturally, if someone is not up to the mark, there is a regulation required. Otherwise, you will cheat this stakeholders, students. So someone who graduates beyond to a particular level, they have full autonomy already.
Sir, Jadavpur is also an IOE.
We have not yet got it. I am looking forward to Professor Sahasrabudhe's help, because there is some bureaucratic stumbling block. We got it. We got the number 6 position, but we haven't got the status as yet.
So that's one last question.
Sure.
This is addressed to Professor Sahasrabudhe. That how do you see the future of National Board of Accreditation and NAC post COVID-19, keeping the new education policy in view?
I think that, as I said, under the single whatever HECI, there is an accreditation. So naturally, there is a body called accrediting body. Whatever name comes finally in the Act, we will see it. But whatever NBA is doing, whatever NAC is doing, in a different format, they will continue to do it. So what is the problem? Actually, the name may be NBA or maybe NAC or maybe something different. It doesn't matter. नाम में क्या रखा है? काम में रखा है सब कुछ.
Thank you very much. Now this is the time to sum up. So I would request all the learned speakers to give concluding remarks, just one-liners, starting with Professor Sahasrabudhe.
I think very intense and very exciting discussion, and I'm very happy and pleased to answer also some of those questions. But I'm thinking that the new education policy is going to pave the way for innovation, research, and also not only supporting ourselves, but the entire globe. We have so much knowledge base. We are 1/6 of the global population. So I think all of that, what happens in the globe, we should be one such to partner in that. I think in terms of whether it is GDP, whether it is in terms of number of research publications, number of innovations, and we will achieve it. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. My concluding remark will be that we have to rethink on education, its mode of delivery, evaluation, students' engagement, and teachers' training, and transforming teachers to suit to this a new paradigm of education that will emerge. I think these are all very different things. We have to really think in this term, not in the traditional way that what we have been doing and will continue to do so. Things actually will not work out.
Dr. Mittal.
See, as a last sentence, concluding sentence, I would like to give a message to the students saying that never in your life you will get these two freedoms, freedom of learning and freedom of speed. So they have a freedom of learning whatever they want to learn. They have a freedom of speed, however fast they want to learn. So don't lose this opportunity and try to learn maximum and make best use of this opportunity.
Dr. Das.
Yeah, I would like to see a situation where our road towards excellence, sustenance of excellence should be in tune with equity and justice, so that the multiplier effect of excellence can reach the broader sections of the student community. Only then our the vision that Professor Sahasrabudhe outlined will be realized in practice, and I'm sure it will be done. If all the stakeholders, the Vice-Chancellors, the teachers, the organizations, they are brought together, have regular interaction with the policy framers, I'm sure a major breakthrough would be done. A collaborative effort is necessary. Thank you.
Dr. Rahul Dasgupta, one-liner from you, concluding remarks. Please unmute yourself.
My message to the institutions to be resilient and agile, both structurally, operationally, and individually as a leader, because these are changing times. If we are able to be resilient, then we can, and positive together, I think we can move forward towards the education model that will work for all stakeholders. So that's my message.
Thank you very much. It was a very enriching discussion, and all our learned speakers have contributed very significantly. And if I have to summarize, one common point that is emerging is that we need to keep the positive frame of mind. We need to think positively. There are challenges, but at the same time, there is a great future ahead. When we talk about pedagogy is definitely going to change. We may be shifting to the blended learning. We may be shifting to hybrid teaching. Assessment methods may be innovated. Even role of teacher may be redefined to some extent. Role of teacher may shift from knowledge holder to the facilitator. Similarly, IT infrastructure needs to be strengthened. There is no alternative to that. And in future, as speakers mentioned, that even the great teachers, great scholars can be brought without much expense. Now, web technology is with us. So even Nobel laureates can be invited to share their experiences and knowledge and wisdom with the students. So therefore, the whole future emerges to be very, very, very challenging, but at the same time, very bright. So with this, I end this. I would now request Rahul to propose the vote of thanks. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you very much, Dr. Dhar, and I would like to actually thank each and every one of you with folded hands. Thank you for your time today. We really had an exciting event. I learned a lot as a youngster from all of you. So, and I'm sure the audience is the same. So thank you very much, and I hope to continue this dialogue with all stakeholders so that our stakeholders, which are the students, finally, they benefit out of these discussions. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.